How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Beyond the Arc, and I hope you guys have been having a good week. If you're a Dallas Maverick fan, though, it's a little bit different to kind of judge because your team at the moment is in a bit of a sticky situation, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Disclaimer first. Apologies for no videos again in like 2 weeks. As you can see, I'm no longer at uni at the moment, but I'm kind of just bouncing back and forth between my home setting and my setting in uni. Uni assignments have kind of just been battering me to death as well. I've had other stuff to do, and Beyond the Arc's kind of just taken a bit of a back burner, and I'm not happy about that. So I'm here to do a little bit more recording. Also, Sully's back in his echo chamber. Um, it'll be probably about another couple months until we see him. So you just got me at the moment, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the Dallas Mavericks. And I feel like everyone's talking about the Dallas Mavericks since the trade deadline. Everyone's been talking about the Dallas Mavericks and Kyrie Irving and what Kyrie Irving's going to bring to the Dallas Mavericks. And at the moment, it's been a bit underwhelming. You know, when Kyrie signed for the Mavs, they were kind of in and around the playing spot, and people were thinking that they were going to push into that sixth place, fifth place position, like a playoff lock, clinching a proper playoff spot. Since then, though, it's not been that good. 2 weeks ago, I made a video talking about the playoff hunt in the Western Conference, and that was when there was around about 11, 12 games left. There's now about 6 games left. Dallas Mavericks have gone from 7th at the time of recording that video. They've gone on a 4-7 run and are now 11th in the conference. Now, I was going to record this video yesterday, but I had absolutely no time. The reason why yesterday would have probably been a better time to record it is because the Mavericks just lost 2 straight back-to-back to the Charlotte Hornets. Now, this is a Charlotte Hornets team committed to the tank as well. No LaMelo Ball, no Terry Rozier. Like Gordon Hayward was their leading scorer, especially in the second game. And both those games had Kyrie and Luka in there. And when you look at the team that the Dallas Mavericks were putting out, you shouldn't really be losing to the Charlotte Hornets at all. Now, since then, obviously, last night, they came and they beat the Indiana Pacers. Now, you'd expect them to beat the Pacers. The Pacers have kind of just shut off their playing hopes for the rest of the season as well. No Tyrese Halliburton, no Buddy Hield for the Pacers. But let's be honest, if you'd have told me before the game, who do you think's going to win, having looked at what the Dallas Mavericks have done in the last 2 games, I'm not even sure I'd have been able to confidently say that the Dallas Mavericks would win this game against the Indiana Pacers, a very weak team. So what's going wrong with the Dallas Mavericks? Like I said, when I made the video a couple of weeks ago, the Mavericks were 7th in the conference with a decent record, just above 500. They've only won 4 games since. But I feel like the whole season and the whole second half of the season since the trade deadline, it's been a bit misleading in terms of the Dallas Mavericks. You look at the games that they've lost. They've lost quite a few close games. You know, you had that Golden State one a few days back. You know, very controversial call in the terms of the inbound that Golden State just scored an easy layup off that the Mavericks were expecting to go to them. That was only a 2-point loss. They faced the Memphis Grizzlies 3 times in the space of a couple of weeks and only got blown out once. They lost 2 times, 112 to 108. So that's a bit of a coincidence, losing by the same scoreline twice. You had the game against the Phoenix Suns, where Luke had a chance to tie but missed the floater. It was a bit of an open floater as well. You'd expect him to make it. So it's not like the Mavericks have had tough games to. Well, it's not like the Mavericks have had easy games, is what I'm trying to say. And when they have been losing, they've only been losing by, minimal amounts, but there really is no room for error in this Western Conference, in this playing run. Especially now we get to the latter end of the season. It is crunch time now. Dallas have 6 games left to play. Most of the teams around them at the moment have 7. If the likes of the Lakers and the Thunder lose their game in hand on the Mavericks, though, then they'll go on the same record. So Dallas, is it over and done with yet? And I guess that's kind of what I'm going to be focusing on a little bit to begin the video. Is it over for the Dallas Mavericks yet? Let's look at their remaining schedule. So you look at the remaining schedule for the Dallas Mavericks. Hopefully, I'll be able to get it up on the screen at some point. They've got 6 games left. They're currently on a 5-game road trip, and in the middle of that, the 3 games at the end of the season, all at home, and that is kind of what matters. That's very, very helpful for them. Equally, the fact that they're going to be playing decent enough teams between now and the end of the season is probably a good thing for them. I'm looking at the likes of Philly, Chicago maybe towards the end of the season, Miami as well. They might be going into these games playing against these teams who have already got their position locked in. Philly have already got a playoff lock. They're probably going to be finishing third in the conference. I think Cleveland are about a game and a half back, but you'd expect Philly to kind of hold that down. They're already kind of been a little bit cautious on James Harden and Joel Embiid, who James Harden hasn't played for 4 straight games. Joel Embiid missed the game last night against the Denver Nuggets. So Philly are kind of already in that playoff mindset, making sure that their star players stay fit because, let's be honest, Philly need a good playoff run, but that's a video for another day. Miami, obviously at the moment challenging for that 6th seed, so they might still put out a decent team. Towards the end of the season, though, Sacramento are kind of teetering away, but they're away from the Memphis Grizzlies in second and the Phoenix Suns in fourth. So you'd expect in the final week of that season they might rest De'Aaron Fox, they might rest Domantas Sabonis. But either way, I feel like the Mavericks team could potentially, I want to say cause an upset, but it really shouldn't be causing an upset. If you just said at the start of the season the Mavericks beating the Kings at the end of the season would be an upset, nobody would believe you. But I feel like the Kings are kind of still in that young position. I want to do a video talking about how the 6th seed in the West is probably the most valuable position you could probably get as a unseeded team in the first round, because the Sacramento Kings are there for the taking, in my opinion. So I digress. The Kings are probably going to have kind of locked their position as well towards the back end of the season. And then the Chicago Bulls at the moment are about 3 games ahead of 11th. So they might go into the second last game of the season knowing that they're probably going to end up being the 10th seed. Potentially, there could be a situation where the Bulls might still be challenging for the 8th seed, so they might still play a strong team. But if going into the play-in, they know that they're going to finish 10th, it might be a good idea to rest Zach LaVine, obviously, coming back from the injury that kept him out towards the end of last season, the surgery that kept him out throughout the whole of preseason and stuff. And DeMar DeRozan, who's missed a few games this season for injury, a few games like last week for injury as well. So they might end up resting a few players. Essentially, the Dallas Mavericks have a good run in at the end of the season. Alongside that, they've got the likes of Atlanta, Miami, and the Spurs to finish off the season. So going into that last game against the Spurs, you never know what's actually going to happen. They could be in a situation where they're already in the playoffs, already in the play-in, and they just need to win. And like I said, with the Hornets, they should have probably won both of those games, but you'd expect them to beat the Spurs. Obviously, the Texas rivalry in there, the Mavericks are probably going to be a little bit more up for it. So towards the end of the season, the Mavericks have an okay run in, but only if the teams that they play against kind of rest a few players. Philly next game should be a game that they should win because they're going to be likely without Embiid or Harden, so they should win that. And if they do win that, they'll be back up in the playing spot. And I guess as the way things are going, as long as you're in a playing spot by the end of the season, by the end of the 82nd game, you're gonna take it. It's better than being 11th, isn't it? So, especially given that I think Dallas don't own their pick if it falls out of the top 10 as well. So Dallas need to get in the playoffs, because if they don't get in the playoffs, then it's all gonna fall apart, and it's really, really gonna look bleak for the Mavericks. Now, we all know the Kyrie Irving situation. He got traded with less than a year on his deal. He's a free agent in this coming off season. Is he gonna stick around with Dallas, knowing that him coming in has kind of made the team worse, or the team hasn't kicked on with Kyrie Irving in there? The Dallas Mavericks are 7-9 when Kyrie Irving plays, so very much in and around that 500 ball team. So it's not like Kyrie coming in has been that bit of an X factor, and it's something that I've mentioned before, like when the trade actually got made. the Dallas Mavericks got rid of a decent core, a core that took them to the Western Conference finals last season. Granted, they weren't having that great of a regular season this season, but when it came to the playoffs, they were okay just giving the ball to Luka and allowing a lot of their role players, the likes of, I mean, obviously Jalen Brunson was a huge part of that, but the likes of Reggie Bullock, Tim Hardaway, to kind of just work around it and pick up points here and there, and it worked for them in the playoffs last season. Bringing in Kyrie Irving, I said, having two big egos in there, and then a load of just middling players and a few young players like Josh Green is a very good player for what he is. Jaden Hardy, I feel like has a very bright future, and Christian Wood still there is, he's a solid player. I like Christian Wood a lot. I think it's just a case of making sure that the team is happy. And when you've got the likes of Kyrie and Luka in there, yes, it's a great X factor to have. You're gonna win games just off of the back of them, and games are gonna be close just because you have that backcourt. And the games have been close since Kyrie Irving joined the Mavericks. But sometimes teams need those role players around them to make sure that they, if both of them are having an off day or if one of them's getting double teamed much, they need they need the role players to kind of pick up the slack. And the Mavericks trading away a lot of their core to get Kyrie Irving has kind of made that a bit of a difficult task, and it's kind of detrimented them a little bit when you look at how they play. Now, if we get to the postseason, Kyrie Irving leaves, the Dallas Mavericks are going to be exactly where they were in 2019. They'll have thrown away the core that they were crafting around Luka Doncic for 4 months of Kyrie Irving, where the team got worse, didn't even make the playoffs, and then he just left. You're going to be back where Luka was when he was a rookie, pretty much, in the lottery, just with Luka Doncic. Like, no team should be in the lottery that has Luka Doncic. Let's be honest with you. So if Kyrie goes, will Luka Doncic follow him out there? He's said in interviews recently that he's not happy with his basketball at the moment. He's not enjoying it as much as he used to do. He's picking up cheap technical fouls here and there. At the moment, because of the one that got rescinded in the second game against the Hornets, he's still one technical foul off of a game suspension, which at this point of the season, with how the Mavericks are going, it's absolutely huge. Doncic can't afford to miss any games. But the way things are going, if they don't make the playoffs, does Luka Doncic leave? Now, this isn't obviously something that's going to be in Luka's, control, because Luka has a contract committed to the end of the 26-27 season. So that's another 4 years at least with the Dallas Mavericks, unless he demands a trade. So if you look at it from a Dallas point of view, if you do end up trading Luka Doncic, you're probably going to get a lot back in return. It's just if anybody is up for trading him, Luka is probably one of the 3 untouchable players, in the NBA in terms of, I don't think any team's going to be able to put a package together to get Luka Doncic that doesn't include trading away your future for like the next 10 years. So who knows what's going to happen with that. I'm not sure if Luka's going to be able to kind of keep this up, keep his happiness going at this Dallas team, knowing that he's taken them to a Western Conference final. He's bullied the Phoenix Suns. He's taken Golden State to 6 games. He knows that he can do it, but if the Mavericks aren't going to have the team around him to do it, why is he going to stay? And I feel like it's a bit weird because at the start of this season, off the back of that playoff run, you were looking at Luka Doncic as one of those players who, like Dirk Nowitzki, was going to commit his whole career to this one team. Dallas is a very good city for making, all-star level players happy and bigging the underdogs when it comes to the playoffs, in 2011, they won the title off the back of one all-star. So people were thinking maybe Luka Doncic is going to be like that. But with the demand for winning, especially in today's NBA, will Luka Doncic look at, a potential move this offseason, especially if Kyrie Irving does end up leaving? And that's going to be an interesting situation. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The Dallas Mavericks might still make the playoffs this season. They're still only 2 games back from the 6th seed, for Christ's sake. It's still that close in there, but I feel like as the season kind of winds down, the gap isn't exactly getting bigger, but it's not getting smaller either, you know. Well, I mean, if they can put together a 6 game win, well, 7 game win streak, it end up being, and win their last 6 games of the season, they might end up in the 6th seed, which in the end will be a success from the Kyrie trade, in my opinion. But it's looking a bit bleak. And when you look at a team that loses back-to-back games against the Charlotte Hornets, who are in tank mode, like next level tank mode, then you need to look at it a little bit. You know, have a bit of an assessment on your team. Is Kyrie Irving the right guy for the job? But equally, if Kyrie leaves, does Luka leave too? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen out west, because it's getting tight. You know, there's only a couple weeks left of the season, so you know who knows what's going to happen with that 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and then ultimately 11th seed in the Western Conference. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that one. But thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you liked it, leave a like. Comment down below what you guys think is going to happen with Luka Doncic. Make sure you're following all the socials. They're in the description. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.